What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Saturday, June the 22nd. Believe it or not, we're pretty much halfway through the year. Crazy week in wrestling and a crazy good SmackDown last night. I have to give a special shout out to our head of reviewing, Kobe Galanzowski, because it is the highest rated SmackDown in the history of Wrestling Republic's reviewing system. Kobe gave that rating last night. So if we're going to break that down, I got to have a sweet cast. And I've got the sweetest, the best cast you could ever have. I've got the best co-host I could possibly ask for riding with me. Don't avert your eyes. It's not Sunday. It's Saturday, a day early. We've got Megan in the building to break down SmackDown. What's up, Megan?
Yeah. Hi, happy Saturday, everyone. I'm just so grateful to be here. SmackDown was full of crazy things. I mean, absolute insanity. And I can't wait to talk about it with you today.
I am so fired up to get into it. I mean, and I was blown away by last night's SmackDown too. I think the irony of the highest rated SmackDown in WR history, like, you know, in our star system, we've got a system. It's been developed over time. We don't break that system. It never goes over 5. But for Kobe to,
Yeah.
and I'm not even going to give out the number, but for him to rate this episode that highly, I was blown away by it. I thought it was just cool to hear. And then I'm even more excited to just get into the show with you because it's in my hometown of Chicago.
Good.
And so I was just melting. They're out there in Chicago, and that crowd, we know how much they love Punk. So let's get right into our first segment. Even the remixed version of Cult of Personality still plays in Chicago, doesn't it? I mean, that entrance, the amount of pictures he took, and I wasn't upset about it. Like it was fun. Oh shoot. Is the audio cutting out?
Yes.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I think we're having a little bit of audio issues, Megan, there. But I will say, yeah, I mean, it's one of those segments where the Punk thing was off the charts. It was as good as you could ask for. And then you have Paul Heyman make his entrance. You have Heyman and the Bloodline. You have the stare down between the group. Okay. Are you having issues on your end audio wise? I apologize to the listeners here just really quickly. Can you hear me? Yeah. It's weird. It's just slightly cutting out. Shoot. Okay. Megan, maybe even retry one more time on the re-entering thing, and I got us for a minute here. I'll cover some stuff if that works. All right. So look, so we had Punk entering the ring in his hometown of Chicago, announcing the fact that he may or may not be cleared within a day. Megan, you're back. Perfect.
CM Punk is like the president of Chicago.
Yes.
He just, Chicago is him. He is Chicago.
So sorry. I do think we had some more technical difficulties there. Was trying to work that out. I'll stick with it. CM Punk, president of Chicago. Yes, it's one of those things. The crowd was on fire. It was a crazy episode. Crazy episode of SmackDown. So Heyman comes down. Heyman, as we know, CM Punk's a Paul Heyman guy. That's just an absolute fact. He looks desperate, as he's looked for a while. In fact, he asks Punk to hightail it with him away from the bloodline, away from Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa. That's not exactly the biggest moment of the night for CM Punk. Cody Rhodes comes out with a couple of Louisville sluggers, tosses one in CM Punk's direction, and next thing you know, the ring is cleared and our main event is booked. We've got Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa in the main event without any interference or involvement. Megan, I believe, is back. Megan, what's going on?
Yes,
We good
I
to
am
go?
so sorry. Yes, I had to switch from my computer to my phone. So,
Perfect. That'll work.
um, yes,
Coming through perfect. So basically where we're at is the end of this promo segment that we just had with Cody coming in with the Louisville Sluggers with the baseball
yes,
bats, ready to roll to stare down the bloodline. Not necessarily the biggest moment of the night for Punk, but arguably the biggest moment of the night for Cody.
yes. Well, I do want to say, I missed it. I hate that I missed this part, but I do want to say that my heart goes out to Paul because Punk was like his last saving grace. He was his last ally. Um, and you know, I just feel for my man Paul Heyman. He just all he wants is just a little help in the situation that he is in, and he just cannot seem to find. Well, it seemed as though he did have one person that was willing to um, help him, but of course he got incapacitated.
Yeah, things get out of hand, and we're going to definitely cover that one at the end of the show, especially when we cover the main event. So let's
Yes,
save that. Let's save that bit for later. Let's talk really quick about Michin versus Chelsea Green versus Bianca Belair in a qualifying match. We had a really cool segment to introduce this between Jade and Bianca talking about
yeah,
qualifying for Money in the Bank. And in a weird way, when I watched it live, and I don't know if you got the same feeling, Megan, but I felt like, oh, so Bianca's going to go over in this one. And then that's how they're going to build the divide between Bianca and Jade is maybe one qualifies and one doesn't. Not so fast. Chelsea
right.
steals the victory. I did
She
not see
so
that
did.
coming. And I thought for a triple threat match, and then the way it was set up, it was one of my favorite and more underrated segments and matches of the night.
Yes. Well, I could definitely say that I suspected something was going to happen with Bianca when her and Jade had a little quick conversation before the match. And Jade said that she was going to talk to Nick Aldis for a tag team rematch for their belts. And I felt like maybe that was a little too much dip on the chip for the former champs. So I kind of suspected that maybe Bianca wasn't going to win, um, which it seems as though that is the case. There is a pattern for Bianca where she has not, outside of I think WrestleMania and Backlash, Bianca has not had a very high streak, a winning streak. She has been losing a lot of her matches, and in my personal opinion, I feel like this is kind of stirring the pot between them two, but it's going to be gradual. Um, but as if for Chelsea, I think she was the probably the best choice. Chelsea is very entertaining, and Chelsea has not had a title shot from in from what I can remember um, since she has come back. I think she has come close, but this is the closest to a title shot for her. And I couldn't have been a better person to win. No offense to Mia Yim. I like her. I like her a lot. But I'm rooting for Chelsea for Money in the Bank. Absolutely. I hope
I,
she I hope she takes this win.
I think Chelsea in Money in the Bank as a surprise winner would absolutely be hysterical. My only fear with that, though, my
Yeah.
only fear if she somehow did win it is like we've just because I think the concept for Money in the Bank in general is one of the best things going in
Right.
wrestling. But the last few years, there's been too many shenanigans. Like Miz
Mhm.
kind of stealing it from Otis. And don't get me wrong, it was a beautiful moment during the pandemic, especially with Asuka and Becky in the
Right.
ring and the belts in the briefcase. I thought that was very cool and very well done. But
Right.
my only fear would with Chelsea and how entertaining and almost just like how character driven she is, the
Mhm.
briefcase becoming too much of a joke would be my only fear.
I think, well, there's a lot of videos of Chelsea that has been coming out, videos that I've never seen before, like a match that she had against Penta. And I
Right.
mean, Chelsea was like really she was going to town as much as she could. But
No, that's a great point too, because like I didn't actually think of it that way. If the character arc is to legitimize Chelsea Green on top of how great her work is,
yeah,
as far as the promos are concerned, then I'm actually in. That makes a lot of sense.
right.
If we're gonna make it, oh no, actually you forgot she can really go.
Yeah.
That's a story that I would love to see told. That makes a ton of sense, Megan. I agree with that tenfold.
Yeah.
Like,
And I just think that outside of that, there is, I mean, the character within itself, it draws a lot of attention. Like she maybe this can lead up to a possible breakup between her and Piper. Piper did not win her title shot at Scotland at Clash of the Castle, and now Chelsea has a chance at possibly winning. This could stir up some envy between them two. Um, which will be kind of sad to watch since Chelsea was pretty supportive of Piper. So I think there's a layer that's being placed out here between these two with Chelsea possibly winning. I think it's just the possibility itself. It's what is going to feed, you know,
the
even if she
narrative.
doesn't win. Yeah. So even if
Yeah,
she
like,
doesn't win, but yeah,
but
I think
close.
so.
I think she'll be in not just in the match, but like
Yeah.
in the match because you have six competitors to your point, right? She's
Yeah.
going to be a huge factor in the outcome in a
Yeah.
way that, like, I think, yeah, to your point, it's going to benefit her either way, no matter how it goes, results wise, once they actually get to that ladder match. But let's move on to our next topic of the afternoon, evening, morning. It depends on where you are. Let's talk about another triple threat match. Let's talk about the men's side. Let's talk about Tama Tonga, Randy Orton, and Carmelo Hayes. And it's so funny to me because Megan, I have sat here for weeks on end, complaining about Mello doesn't miss. And why are we having Mello go up to the main roster just to work spots that we have other bodies that are available to work? I don't
Mm.
get it. And then all of a sudden, we put him in a match that not in a bazillion years did I think he would be the winner of with Tama Tonga and Randy Orton on a night
Yeah.
that was a lot about the bloodline. And guess who picks up the W? Finally, Mello Don't Miss
Yes.
is in the
Yes,
Money
he
in the
did.
Bank match. And I love it. But it is so weird how we got there because the rest of the
Yeah.
night's kind of about the bloodline. And then you see the other
Absolutely.
two in this match. It's Orton and Tonga. And it's like, but Mello won. I was
I
stoked
think.
about it, and I think he needs one of those moments, viral type moments
Yeah.
in Money in the Bank to really put the stamp on this. Then we can really get
Mhm.
started with Melo on the main roster. But I want to get your thoughts.
Well, I'll put it this way. Um, we know we've learned who Carmelo is in NXT, and we learned that he can be a bit conniving. I mean, we've seen what he did with his former friend Trick Williams. So when he went to the main roster with that same attitude, that same like he had this attitude where he thought he could come to the main roster and run these more experienced wrestlers the way he's done with wrestlers more or less along with in his age group. And when it came down to Cody Rhodes, when it came down to LA Knight, Randy Orton, they all showed him that, you know, you are still the kid in the company. Like you still have a lot to learn. And I think when it came down to Tamatanga, who is um he's well experienced, and Randy, who we know is even more experienced. Um I think the fans got so caught up in this storyline between them two that they forgot how conniving and how sneaky Carmelo can be. And it worked in his benefit because they was too busy battling within themselves that they forgot that you have this young, kind of inexperienced guy who just got drafted, who is still trying to prove himself. And him winning was definitely a surprise to me as well. I really thought Randy was going to take this win, but it seems like they're going to make me wait a little longer for him and Cody. So um I mean, I guess we'll see what Carmelo does in Money in the Bank. But
I, I'm just
he
glad
wasn't
he's.
my first choice.
He wasn't mine either. If I looked at that match right beforehand, that's to me, it was like the upset of the night in a good way, though,
Yeah.
right? Like we finally made sense of, and this is something that's really funny to me because I think about the WWE about 5, 6, 7, 8, little longer than that years ago, right? Mid
Hmm.
2010s, and this is not what we would get, where
No.
you get a feeling about somebody like Carmelo Hayes, and it's not going well, and it would be accurate.
Right.
To see the arc come back around, I think I got to give Triple H, everybody at the helm creatively right this second, some credit here
Yeah.
because now we've got Melo in a spot that makes sense. Okay. And he picked up a win in a match where he's with
Against Randy.
Tamatonga, top of the
Hmm.
card, and Randy Orton, first
Randy.
ballot Hall of Famer. Like
Yeah.
it's making a lot of sense, and that's one thing that I think we were missing for so long that I really like.
Yeah.
Because
I
even
think
even I jumped the gun and complained about Mello.
Yeah, I
Like
think
not
this was a surefire way to remind us why he was drafted. This is
yeah.
the reason why he is on SmackDown. Because, like I said, for the last couple of weeks, he's been getting sunned. Like all the other wrestlers is showing him, like, no, you're not ready for this. And I think we all kind of I think we all just kind of got misled a little bit. So that was just a reminder. Now I don't know if he's going to win. He might be
Yeah.
the highlight of the match,
In a weird
but
way, of the two that we discussed, I think Chelsea Green has a better shot of pulling the underdog upset in the Money in the Bank on the women's side than
over
than he
Carmelo.
does than
Yeah,
Mello does on the men's side of the two, which is
yeah,
ironic that they're both upset victories in and how much praise we've laid upon the show, right?
Yeah,
You pull something out of left field, we're going to be excited about it.
absolutely.
It's just good writing, right?
Yeah.
Like it is. If you're going to shock us two as much wrestling as we watch,
Yes, I think and exactly the way. I mean, because you have Mia Yim and you have Tamatanga, and even though they are good wrestlers, I think they would have came in third of who we thought would have won the match. I think automatically we would have thought Bianca and Randy was going to take the win, whereas you have Chelsea and you have Carmelo back to back taking this win over what we would consider fan favorites. Um, yeah, I think it's definitely keeping the fans on our toes and making sure that it's not um so expected. I guess that's the
telegraphed,
term.
transparent,
Yeah,
like
just
yeah,
make
it's
yeah
less
like it
obvious.
predictable. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I am totally with you. Speaking of unpredictability, though, really quickly, gonna have to do an ad read here for our friends over at Next Level. The best, the best. Next Level, go check it out. nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic. All our content, all platforms linked all in one place. Thriving wrestling community, tons of giveaways, no gimmicks, all kinds of fun. Check it out. You're gonna love it. And with that, though, I've got a mountain, Megan, of comments to go through here for us. So let's get started. We've got, I mean, where do I start? These things go back all the way. I've been out on, I mean, we've got twos up for Shoddy being in the building. David is there, twos up for him too. David's got his twos up. And then he said, "Are you wearing a West Virginia shirt?" I'm not. No, it's a Noble Art shirt, but I do like that one. And then this one though tickled me. Shad, you're the man. Monster shout out. Megan is the goat. How you doing, sis? And what's
Great
good?
shot.
Fuck,
See
my
you
dude.
tomorrow.
Absolutely. But let's keep talking about triple threat matches because we had a bundle of them last night. We had
Yeah.
not one, not two, but three of them.
Yes.
Let's talk about the last one. Kevin Owens, Grayson Waller, Andrade El Idolo. And once again, Clark the Gambler. Not even close. Not even close. I had everyone involved in Bloodline storylines winning these triple threat matches. I
Hmm.
had Orton and I had Owens. So I had no chance when it came to either result. Andrade picks up the victory to get into the
Well
match.
deserved.
I like this too. Talk about
Well
using
deserved.
the entire roster, Megan, right? I think this
Yes.
is something that a lot of companies need to look into because you got to use all the talent when they're there.
Yeah. I mean, I've been wanting this for Andrade since he came back to the WWE because I have to admit, at some point, it did feel like he wasn't being utilized the way he was supposed to. And I saw a lot of fans agreeing with their sentiments. They felt like he wasn't, he may have been better off where he was. Um, but for him to be the speed champion, unfortunately, because Ricochet is out of commission for a while. Um, I think, I mean, I probably would have saw Grayson Waller win, um, because I just knew with the whole issues with the bloodline just running rampant throughout the show, the entire episode, I felt as though Kevin probably would not have had a chance. I felt like somebody was going to prevent that from happening. I mean, Tamatanga just lost his match. I did not see Kevin having that much luck. Um, So I thought maybe Grayson, but honestly, I'm just really happy for Andrade. He showed it, the best way I can describe it is that he's just he is the epiphany of a generational wrestler, in my opinion. I feel like he is going to be talked about for years to come. And between him and his wife, that I am a huge fan of, um, I'm just really glad he's back home, and I want to see how he handles Money in the Bank, the Money in the Bank match. I think he's a good addition to
I
the
agree.
match.
I think it'd be so interesting. And here's the funny thing for me when it comes to Andrade is I feel like the most difficult thing about Andrade is the more you watch him, all you can think is
Hmm.
why is he not a bigger deal?
Right.
Like why is he not more important? It's not that he's unimportant because he's not that. He's
No.
very much carved a space in the professional wrestling lexicon, right? That
Hmm.
is across multiple brands, multiple companies. But why what what's there isn't really much missing between him potentially being a main event type talent.
Right.
It's one of those things like, and it's not to bring up a weird throwback name, but like Alberto Del Rio, if he can
Okay.
be a WWE champion, how
Hmm.
can't Andrade?
This
That's
is
just
true.
something that like I've thought about often. Like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. And I did flip the order of topics though because I really wanted to get into this next one. Let's talk about the city on city attacks that we've seen.
Mm,
So Punk goes to Scotland and
mm.
he drives a Phillips head screwdriver right in Drew McIntyre's big old plans to have his big old moment in front of his whole family and all of his friends. And then Punk comes back and we see a show in Chicago last night. An
Mhm.
excellent show in my hometown of Chicago. I love that place. Sweet home Chicago, you know? And and I had a feeling yesterday that it would be perfect. I said it on the daily. I said Drew McIntyre needs to go after this dude, especially if it has to do with him being cleared to compete. And we got the tease segment. We got Cult of Personality out of the gates. We got it. It was awesome. The crowd went crazy. Posed for pictures. The whole nine. High fived everybody. Then we get Heyman out there. We're having a high
A
school
moment.
we're having a high school reunion in the ring essentially for me. Basically, I'm like, this is awesome. And then the bloodline, and then all of a sudden, and this is a portion of the show that I often complain about is those 10 minutes before the turn of the hour.
Hmm.
Always seem to be funky. And we've got Mr. Chicago made CM Punk, Phil Brooks, bleeding like a stuck pig, not a stuffed pig. Don't get that wrong, kids. Get the term right. It's a stuck pig. Why would a stuffed pig bleed? It's a stuck pig. Bleeding like a stuck pig off of his head in a fireman's carry. Drew McIntyre, that visual, I mean, I had to replay it multiple times.
Yes.
That was an eye for an eye, my friend, if I've ever seen it. And dang it, they did it again. I want to see this rivalry and wrestling match play out all summer long. They got me in stitches, and no pun intended there because Punk obviously needed a few, but this segment rocked the house for me. especially the card placement late in the first hour. Unbelievable, Megan. How did you feel about it? I thought it stole the show.
Mm. Well, I can say that we thought it was the steal of the show until we saw what wrapped up the show, but it was a very important part of the show. And I want to take a time, the time to just speak on the cinema of hearing the banging against the gate, Kayla running wherever she went, and the gates just opening up, and you just see Punk there, and the gate is just rising, and you see it is Drew. Now, of course, at first I thought, oh my God, the Wyatt sick, they then caught up with CM Punk, and I don't know why. It's just with the extra security, I almost thought they got him. I thought they got him. But just watching Drew carry CM Punk through the arena and the camera angle and just looking at all of the producers and the wrestlers just watching him carry him effortlessly through the arena, and you could tell not one person wanted to look him in the eye, not one person wanted to interfere, they didn't want to intervene, they wanted no parts of it, they just watched. And just to have that moment, as you said, CM Punk coming out, being among his people, taking pictures, kissing babies, being the Chicago mayor that he is, and then to see how it ended with him being dropped at the feet of his people, the Chicago people, and Drew just, is this your king? Like, is this who you guys look up to? I know that rivalry between them two is going to is it needs to run the whole entire year. Honestly, like it needs to just run for the remaining of the year because technically it has been so far. I mean, the rivalry kind of started since Royal Rumble. So I just hope that when CM Punk is cleared, because we were supposed to find out yesterday and we did not, but when he is cleared, um, I I want more than one match. I want matches on top of matches. I want matches in different countries between these two. Like I want this to ride out. It has to. There's way too much animosity and hatred and anger between these two to have it two matches and then wrapped up. So if anybody from WWE is listening, please let's just run this all the way till 2025. That's all I ask. I don't care what
Yes.
kind of matches they have, just let it run through.
I don't know if I could be more in agreement. Like run it in different cities too. You can
Yes.
set this up where you do this thing internationally, you do it in the United States. I mean, I laugh. It's funny. We at Wrestling Republic here, we're pretty global. We got a
Yeah.
lot of guys in the UK. We got a lot of us over here in the US, East Coast, West Coast, uh, Central Time Zones, Canada, the whole nine, right? South
Mhm.
America, like Asia, all of it. But Soul goes to Clash of the Castle, and he's a Drew
Yeah.
guy because as he should be, right?
Yeah.
It's his hometown guy, and sees this happen. And the big narrative is how's Punk get out of Scotland? I'm sitting here like,
Mhm.
how in the world did Drew McIntyre get out of Chicago?
That's the
Because
question. That's the question. Because it's like I'm from New York, born and raised, and I feel like Chicago and New York is very much like twin sisters. They're very much
Yes.
alike. Um, so with that being said, with Punk being from Chicago, you being from Chicago, me being from New York,
Yeah.
we're not scared of no fights.
No.
Like if we are put in a situation, we might lose,
Yeah.
but we're not scared of it. So I wasn't worried
That
about CM
was my
Punk.
favorite line in Punk's opening promo, where
Yes.
he goes, "But I'm from Chicago, so that's not an option." When he mentions the
Yeah.
turning the other cheek thing, he's like, "No, but so I'm from Chicago, not a choice for me, right? Not
Yeah.
gonna happen." And the storytelling within that too, and the pride and all of that, that's one of the things that I think makes pro wrestling so magic. This
Yeah.
punk Drew thing doesn't need a belt. It doesn't
No.
need a. This is about honor. It's about right. It's a full it it's a fully relatable story in the sense that it's like they really can't stand each other, and they're both great at what they do,
Yeah.
and they both have different backgrounds. So to just employ all of that from a creative standpoint is I am like it. David Modge in a comment said like worldwide. Yes, that's what
Yeah.
this match is. Is it's
Yes.
like and it's got to happen multiple times to your point. I think
Yeah. I,
that's
I'll make this quick point. Drew took something from Punk that it cuts deep, and he took time. And we're talking about a man that came back to a company after 10 years, a company that he never thought he was ever going to ever wrestle for again. And whether it was purposely or not, Drew took credit for that. He took credit for that. And on top of that, not to offend any Christians or atheists, but he
any
said he
creative.
prayed. Yes, he said he prayed to God for that to happen.
He did.
And with CM Punk being openly atheist, I think he took that personally. I
Well,
think he,
that's the other thing is you gotta think about this. So CM Punk showed up too, and I only have the insight on this from actually like past stuff, but CM Punk showed up wearing a Celtic jersey
yes,
to the press conference, right? Celtic is the Catholic team.
yeah,
Rangers is the Protestant team. That's
hmm,
as big of a deal as anything historically in Scotland. It's not so much about the football or the soccer, as we would call it, right? Like it's
yeah,
not. That was as big of a, the finger we can't show on YouTube,
yeah,
um, as you could actually send. It was just wearing the Celtic jersey. Punk doing that
yeah,
was like that'd be like McIntyre wearing a St. Louis Blues jersey in Chicago, or like
hmm,
you know what I mean, or like a Cardinal jersey. Honestly, I think that would have been the only touch that they could have made this segment better. Though,
right,
as far as setting up now we have to see them fight.
yes,
Now we have to.
because it's reached a plateau where I think each man have hurt each other to the point where now they're going to like be literally tearing into each other when they finally do get their hands on
Yes.
each other. Because like I said, Drew took something away from CM Punk that means a lot. Time that he would never get back, and CM Punk caused not one but two title opportunities for him. Something that Drew has been really chasing after. So yeah, I think it's pretty even at this point
I, I,
between them
I'm
two.
I'm with you, and like I mean, honestly, I could talk about this one for hours. I yesterday on the show, I said I think we've seen 2 out of 3 falls matches. Why not
Yeah,
do 3 stages of hell with
that
these
would
two?
be interesting.
Bring
Yeah,
back that concept, right? Not quite 2 out of 3 falls, but let's
yeah,
this is an appropriate rivalry for that one, I think,
Yes,
and that would be
I would
exciting to
agree.
me.
I
Yeah,
would agree.
you know.
Hmm.
Okay, let's get to our main event of the evening, and well, you know what? No, we can talk quickly about LA Knight, Escobar, and Logan Paul. What do you think?
Um, just give LA Knight the belt. Just give him the
Yeah,
belt. He deserve it.
thank you.
I like I said, I'm not a fan of Logan Paul. Um, I understand why Escobar was in the mix, even though he didn't really fit in that promo. But I get it because it's drawing attention to the triple threat match that they have scheduled next week for them. But we still need that one-on-one with LA and Logan. I'm not sure. I don't think we ever really got it all too much. I mean, they've like talked at each other, and of course, last week, LA went to Logan's house, but they never really had a one-on-one type of in-ring promo. So, yeah, just give LA the belt. He deserves it.
It's
Just give him
time.
the belt.
Yeah, I mean, it's time. Yeah, like it
Yeah,
just is. It's time. It makes the most sense. And Logan Paul is still valuable to the WWE too outside of this. Right?
yeah, absolutely.
I feel like we talk about like people going over or winning and losing often enough in wrestling. Logan
Hmm.
Paul really is in a weird way could take a ton of losses and he's still gonna be relevant in the game given the outside scenario that exists that he's built the brand that he has. People are gonna
Right.
watch Logan Paul do whatever he's gonna do. Right?
It's
If
true.
yeah, if he's riding a unicycle, people are gonna start going to school. Like it's just it's one of those things. He's literally the definition of an influencer. Um,
Yeah.
is what I would say. But let's talk about the main event of the evening. Let's talk about Cody Rhodes, Solo Sikoa, and the debut of Jacob Fatu. Okay, is it just me or is Jacob Fatu the scariest person in this iteration of the Bloodline?
I think what was, I mean, yeah, he's a terrifying guy. I mean, like, even when you saw Tonga and his brother when they was doing the ones, like even them, they looked like even they was a little shook by the idea of Jacob being here. And this is something that we've been waiting for some time now because his name has been out there that he was coming. Um, I I want to go back to the little conversation that Paul and Solo had just before the match when he told Paul that Roman was not coming back. And I think that
Yeah.
kind of got brushed past a little bit because, Jacob did debut, but, you know, that what the one thing I've learned about WWE is that they will give you a little drop of something. And if you don't pay attention, you will miss it. And when it does play out, that's when you go back and go, like, oh, yeah, that's what they said. So by him now calling himself the head of the table, having Paul call him the head of the table, Jacob debuting, and him telling Paul that Roman is not coming back, I think, in my opinion, Roman will come back, but not the tribal chief that we know is coming back. I think the Roman that we have grown attached to for the last 3 years is not coming back.
Yeah.
I
I would
think,
agree with that.
yeah, I just, it's just the way he said it. I don't think he meant literally. I think he meant that guy that you're so in love with, the one that you pray to, the one that you speak highly of. No, that guy is not coming back.
And a
And
weird thing to me, Megan, is like the aesthetic of this iteration of the bloodline doesn't really make sense. The we're talking about the, the most telling line to me was Paul Heyman said, "You're talking about Samoans and Tongans
hmm
that have no regard for," but then they came out and dressed like they were at New York Fashion Week.
yeah, I'll put it this way. I think Solo's been watching Roman for since he came up from NXT. So he's been watching him carefully.
Yeah,
Now he has learned some things from Roman, but Roman has a finesse to him that Solo do not have. Solo has came into he's come on the main roster being the enforcer. Like he enforces whatever it is that Roman wants. But the conniving, the manipulative side of Roman, the fear, the silent fear that he has, where Jimmy wouldn't look Roman in the eye, where Jay wouldn't look Roman in the eye, Solo lacks. He does not have. Um, but Solo reminds me of the young kid that try to imitate their older sibling.
yeah.
That's what Solo is doing. He is trying his best to imitate Roman, and I think everybody can see it. Everybody can see that the seed was planted. I think it was for Money in the Bank last year when Jimmy and Jay said that there is a tribal chief that they see, and they kind of looked at Solo, and I think that seed has been planted since then. And since then, Solo has been thinking that I could probably be a better tribal chief than Roman can. And him losing that belt was the final curtain call for Solo. Like all respect that he had for Roman was gone at that point. And it doesn't make sense, but I feel like there is more pieces that we are not seeing when it comes down to Solo and his bloodline. Um, but we gonna see how tough Solo really is. I
I'm
don't
with
think
you
he
on
got it
this.
though.
And I think there's just a lot of story there too. But I'm going to say
hmm
this really quickly too, Megan. So look, we had a little tech issues early in the show.
Yes.
And we've also got a lot of viewers on live right now. So if we get one comment right this second saying we'll go 60 minutes and we'll book this whole bloodline thing to the bejesus if you're
Okay.
asking us to between the two of us. So just one comment. Somebody comments it. In fact, we're just going to do it anyway. Seriously, I'm entirely with you. I think the net of it is Roman Reigns coming back as a babyface is what everybody always wanted. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, there was one guy with his dirty little toes and dirty little shoes in the pocket when it came to booking the Reigns storyline. Yeah, absolutely. By the way, we got it. We got it. We got it. We got the comments too that we needed. So it's official. Um, that's exactly what we were looking for. Um, so no, for me, Roman Reigns has to come back as the babyface that actually he always kind of should have been. If you
Yes.
look at the Shield story arc,
hmm
that was the stone left unturned,
Right.
right? Like he was the genuine babyface, even in the Shield at the time, over Moxley, Ambrose, whatever you'd like to address him as these
hmm
days. The way he returns this time, this isn't the big dog. We can't keep doing that. That did not work. It didn't
Right.
make sense. right? It was a lot of, I mean, even I go back and I look at, I think the lowest moment of Reigns as a babyface was him saying that this is my yard line to The Undertaker, as if we were supposed to be like, yeah, it is. Like, that wasn't the one, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I just, for me, this Reigns return as a face
Mm-hmm.
in a weird way. And I'm not trying to get all conspiracy. Now we're deep in this conversation, but
Right.
if Cody Rhodes doesn't allow Rock to turn heel, it doesn't make sense. But we're actually finally gonna get the face Roman Reigns
Yeah. I
that
mean,
was always wanted by The Office. And that's the
yeah.
freakiest thing to me. Like, right? I mean, how do you book his return? When do you bring him back? SummerSlam?
Well, I don't know because it's like okay. The story isn't just happening in the ring, it's happening out the ring too. Like, for instance, people have realized that Roman has unfollowed Solo on Instagram, which if it adds to the story because even though Roman is not publicly denouncing what's going on, even though he has completely left Paul to defend himself, by him just doing that alone is showing that he is aware of what's going on and he is not accepting the stuff that Solo is doing. He's not in approving of it. Um, but if we're going to jump down the rabbit hole really quickly, what are the odds that maybe Solo is getting, these instructions, getting these demands, getting these, he is being told what to do, and he is being told by The Rock,
Yep.
because The Rock said he's coming back. He said he's coming back. He said he is. He made it clear to Cody that he was not done with him. That he was going to come back for him, and I think by Solo coming out after Clash of the Castle and attacking Cody, that kind of gave me the window that Roman might be coming back a lot sooner than we thought. I would like for it to be SummerSlam. The SummerSlam is like so close in comparison to Money in the Bank. I don't know if that would give them enough time to not only bring Roman back, but to also write The Rock back in. I don't know how that will work now. I'm not a writer. So, I trust that they definitely know how to piece this together. Um, Probably far better than I could come up with. But uh, do you have Zilla? Really briefly, Zilla Umaga's son on Instagram saying,
Yeah.
"See us soon." It's like, "See us soon," like, you
What does
know,
that mean?
yeah. So
I
I
mean, and
automatically
we
think,
we
okay,
know
make
that Hikuleo's out there as well.
yes,
And so that's all possible. There's so much story to be told too. And we look at that bloodline family tree that was put out back
it's a lot.
back
Yeah.
during Mania season. I
Mhm.
mean, I laughed at everybody freaked out about Danny Garcia being on there. And like I had a few people that reached out and were like, I didn't know Daniel Garcia was Samoan. And I was like, no, that's The Rock's ex-wife. She's
Yes.
like, no,
Yeah.
that's
I know
not
they
the
got.
same.
Yep. No, that's
Nope,
that's the
two
Rock's
different
wife,
people.
ex-wife. Yep.
100%, two different people. But I mean, it's one of those where it's like, uh, there's so many possibilities. There's
Mhm.
also this like Tonga versus Samoa
Yeah.
matchup. that you could see. I mean, you look at the way the bloodline is, but I mean, they chanted Roman's name in Chicago during a Punk segment last night. We saw that live.
Mm-hmm.
And and I know that everything is, when it comes to Roman Reigns, methodically thought out.
Yeah.
But it's finally time to have the face from. I wanted to root for him against Cody, for part of me did personally, I hate to say that, but part of me did, because I just, it's weird. Like, the longer you watch Roman,
Right.
the more you actually realize he's he's actually a good guy. As much as he was bad and did a good job of being bad,
Mm-hmm.
he was the moral compass of the Shield. That's why he took the chair shot in the back from Seth.
Okay. So really quickly, because an idea just popped in my head. So if you believe that Roman is still the good guy in the mix of things, does it kind of does it kind of shadow what Jimmy had told Jay when Jay was going up for the belt, and he was saying he did not want him to become Roman. He wanted him to remain who he was.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
So you think like maybe the just being the top guy and having the belt and stuff kind of like caused Roman to just change a
Yeah,
little,
I don't.
like change for the
It's
bad.
I'm wondering, because the delivery on the return, I think, is going to be the most telling thing. Because you make
Yeah.
such a great point there too about the parallel. It's like, it's it's so possible that this
Yeah.
works out in a way
Yeah, because I
where,
mean, that was the main reason why Jimmy kept causing Jay title opportunities, because his thing was he did not want him to become Roman. He did not want that title to change him to being like Roman. And so it all we could really take from that is that Jimmy and Jay watched their cousin change because of the belt. And for 3 years, he was this character because of the belt. And
yeah,
now he has lost that belt. He has lost that belt. He has seemingly lost the respect from his family. The only person that is continuously speaking high of Roman is Paul. And Paul is in a really bad situation right now that he can't get himself out of. Um, so if that's the case, yeah, without the belt, there's no other way Roman should come back but as a face. He should. His cousin
yeah,
is the heel now. His cousins are terrorizing everyone now. So
yes.
it's like you don't have to be that person, Roman. You could be the person you are deep down in your heart.
Well, and I'm starting to think about, like, what if he starts by reconciling with Jay? That's how they kind of bring
Absolutely.
him back, and then he reconciles with Jimmy. And
Well,
now you're squatting up. Now we're really talking about it, like,
yeah. Or well, yeah.
okay,
I
wait,
was
by the
thinking,
way, we are so up against the clock. I just didn't realize this. We're on the hour. We actually have to go home. Megan and I could talk about this for the rest of the
yes.
day. Thank you, everyone that tuned in. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do. Thank you, Wrestle Takes. Cam, you're the freaking man for what you just did there in the last few minutes. Shout out everybody at Wrestling Republic. Check us out on every platform every day live, noon Pacific, 3 East.